Hey, Fernando here with another Procreate video. This is a concept I'm working on for a human female cleric. It is for a personal project and I'm basing her loosely off my wife. And much like her, she usually has a smile on her face, a sunny disposition, and is just not a healer, but also can hold her own in battle. I am personally a sucker for the stereotypical archetypes in my fantasy games, so my warriors usually look like what you would expect a warrior to look, and same thing for the healers. I'm not very good at capturing likeness, so as you can see here I struggle with the face a little bit. I did several sketches before I was happy with the final version. Design wise, she has a shield and a large mace. I tried to incorporate some healing symbols on her. I first gave her a necklace, which I ended up getting rid of. She has a book with a red cross on it, and she has the red cross on her shoulder pads as well. She also has caduceus on her tabard. She's meant to be a frontline healer, so I gave her a chainmail and a shield. I didn't want to make her too armored because I didn't want her shape and form to be confused with the warriors and knights. As I'm cleaning up the lines on top of the blue sketch, I'm also redesigning some things in my head. You'll notice that I get rid of her cross on the necklace. I get rid of the necklace altogether, and I also got rid of the ponytail. I came up with another character that is going to have a ponytail, and she's also a female, so I didn't want her to be confused. Shape and silhouette are very important when it comes to not just games, but also movies and cartoons and comic books. Shape and silhouette is very important for character design in a medium. When you look at a character from any distance, you should be able to tell them apart from any other character without having to look at their face or any details on their gear. I'm going to fill everything up with a neutral gray, and just like last time, I'm going to do all my rendering in grayscale. For this drawing, I added the color on a soft light layer before I did any of the rendering. One of the drawbacks of a soft light layer is that the hue that you pick in the color picker is not necessarily the same hue that you're going to end up with on the canvas. I tried to fix this by picking the colors first before I added the value. But it ended up being a mistake because once I started adding value, it changed the hue slightly anyway, so I really just wasted a lot of time. I found that when working with soft light layers to add color, it's better to just block all your colors in one layer and then have another soft light layer on top of that where you can fix all the hues by adding blush and things like that. Here I'm going to start rendering on the grayscale layer. I start with an airbrush to do really large soft shadows as a base. I noticed that the airbrush tool in Procreate is not that great, or at least I haven't figured out how to use it properly. So it's better to use a regular brush and then apply a Gaussian blur to the whole layer. It's not perfect, but I do like the result better than what I get with a regular airbrush. Procreate and the iPad Pro are definitely not going to replace Photoshop CC and my Cintiq tablet, but as a mobile solution it has definitely replaced Photoshop on my Surface Pro. In fact, I could say that it has replaced my Surface Pro altogether. I did this entire drawing over 2 lunch breaks at work and about half an hour in bed right before I went to sleep. Back to the drawing itself, one of my biggest problems with it is that it doesn't have any line weight variation whatsoever. This was a little bit on purpose. I was inspired by Voltron on Netflix. I noticed that in that cartoon they use very thin lines and really nice shading, but it just doesn't quite work out when you're going for a more painterly feel. I was also experimenting modifying the brushes in Procreate, and well, it's one of those cases of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I ended up reverting to the defaults because they're pretty damn good out of the box. So far I'm still having a lot of fun using the app, and even though it has a very simplified design on the UI, it's pretty powerful. In fact, the simplicity is one of its core strengths. I find that it motivates me to experiment a lot. It's so different from Photoshop that it forces me out of my comfort zone, and I mean that in a positive way because as an artist it's always really good to push your boundaries and try new things. I think you'll see a little bit of that in future videos. Here I'm adding a little bit of blush and different hues on a soft light layer on top of my blocks, as well as the chainmail texture, which was a very fun part to do in a very zen-like way. Just like last time, I'm going to finish this drawing by adding one final layer, fill it up with a single color, and then playing around with the opacity and the layer modes in order to unify all the colors underneath. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you would like to see a high quality version of this drawing, you can find the link in the description of the video.